And welcome to the Parks and Recreation Commission of the City of Victoria meeting. It is, I've got 5:33. We'll call the meeting to order and begin this afternoon by asking for any citizen communications. Is there anyone out there in the audience that would like to address the commission? If so, Mr. Serrato, would you like to come up? Thanks very much. If you'd state your name and address and
My name is Robert Serrata. I'm from 355 Leaper Lane, Victoria, Texas. Born and raised here in Victoria and been associated with soccer since the 1980s. Helped organize Victoria Youth Organization in 1990 and still affiliated. I'm not with the association right now, but I coach youth soccer and I also coach at Patty Welder on a volunteer basis, and I coach at Trinity Episcopal as well as basically on a volunteer basis. There is a stipend, but it's not what you would call anything. But the reason I come, I noticed that probably a little slow, but talking about the budgets, I know people have been presenting different things. I want to compliment the city on the money that they have invested in the Victoria Little League baseball complex. I think it's one of the better ones that I've seen anywhere around here. And at one time, that area that is being used by the Little League was being used by our soccer complex. We had men's soccer teams playing there, and we had the youth soccer teams playing there, and we had the teams from the YMCA also playing there. And since that time, when the city approached us at the time, they were talking about building that complex and everything else. We kind of just bowed out and moved our operations to the airport. And we built that complex out there at the airport, and it has served them well. But the problem is the airport lease is a year-to-year lease. And so there's not a whole lot that we can do with it. I personally, and this is I'm not speaking with any authorizations from the associations or anything else. Would like to see something that the city of Victoria do for soccer. There are quite a few teams in Victoria. I noticed that in Victoria that we have two seasons. There's a fall season and a spring season, so the complex would be used anywhere from 3 to 6 months out of the year, unlike baseball that's only done in the spring. Also, in this petition, I would like to see if something could be done on an indoor basis, a building be built so that soccer can be done. When I was coaching, I would take a group of boys and we'd go to Houston and we played indoor soccer there in Houston. And it was a break because it was done during the summer when it was too hot to play in the summer here. We'd go and play in the air-conditioned soccer complex up there. And I just want to see what the park and recreation department is thinking about doing about soccer. When we have over, I would say anywhere in the neighborhood of over 1,000 people participate in soccer year round. And Victoria has not sponsored any tournaments because our facilities do not lend themselves for it. But I have participated in tournaments all over the state, Texas. I've gone with tournaments from Waco, San Antonio, Austin, Round Rock, and then down in the valley and in Corpus. And when you see anywhere from 50 to 150 teams come together, that's a pretty good way of recouping some of the investment that you do on a complex like that. And my petition would like to see or know something that the city is thinking or planning or putting it on the back burner, some kind of a petition to help the soccer in Victoria, as they have done with the Little League and other facilities. And that is my comment for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Serrata. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to address the commission at this time?
I add to what Mr. Hirata just mentioned. I'll talk, I'm involved with our middle schools, and like Bobby said, that they are intramurals being played. And also, we gotta remember too, that this can also help the VISD soccer teams. And talking to some of the coaches, they have soccer during the worst time of the year, and every time they have a game or practice, it's either too cold or raining. I think the idea that Mr. Serrata mentioned of indoor soccer would be a great idea for the city to consider, meaning that it can be utilized not only by the soccer association, but also by the VISD soccer teams during inclement weather.
Any other comments? If not, we'll bring the public comment section to a close and move on into new business, the next thing on the agenda. I know that we've got a presentation by Mr. Van Gundy. Do you want to do that now?
Yes, sir, thank you. I want to show a quick video. Josh is going to start this up. This is the just a quick video of the grand opening of the Ethel Tracy splash pad, and so he'll go ahead and start it.
You guys want to turn this thing on? Well, I'm talking to the kiddos. Y'all want to turn it on? Okay, I need all the kiddos to come over here. And we're going to do this together.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
My name is Danielle Williams, and I'm the Assistant Director of Victoria Parks and Recreation. And today we're doing the grand opening of the Ethel E. Tracy Splash Pad. Ethel E. Tracy Park is known as the park behind the mall. That seems to be the easiest way to tell people how to get here. We started on this project back in January, and actual construction started in about March. And so it's taken a little bit longer than anticipated, but we have it open for this summer. After today, we'll be open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., along with our other 2 splash pads that we have across the city too. So we've got 3 total splash pads. This is our 3rd and newest one. Actually, this is a totally different theme than the other ones. At the youth sports, we have more of an athletic theme with different sports such as baseball and tennis. This one is the grasslands theme, and some of the amenities on here are different. We've got the acrylic type features that are see-through, which makes it really nice on the dumping bucket because you can see the water fill and you can anticipate when it's going to tump over. And here it goes. It's fixing to tump over right now.
I'm Jason. We're having fun at the splash pad, and everyone's here. And yes, this is me, Jason Burriel.
Everybody, y'all need to come down to the splash pad here at the park. And we're all having a good time, so y'all need to come. Bye.
I want to thank a few people that were very important to the creation of this facility. It's really interesting to note that so much private money went towards the construction and building of this, and it speaks so well of our community to have such wonderful people contribute privately to build this.
So we would like everybody to come out and try out the new splash pad here at Ethel E. Tracy Park. And if you have any questions about it, you can call our office at 485-3200, or you can also check us out on Facebook for Victoria Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Josh. I want to real quick thank the sponsors that we had with the Ethel Lee Tracy Foundation, the Martha Shanklin Foundation, the HEB Tournament Champions, and our Sales Tax Corporation. That project was built with zero tax dollars. It's a great project, and we're really excited about it. It's been used every day. I've gone out there a few times and just seeing the people and the kids, and so it's a great addition to it. And so if you get the chance, drive by and see it. It's open from 10 to 7 every day until Labor Day, and then it'll be weekends only. So.
Colby, I'd be all right with you. I'll let any comments by members or questions, comments about the splash pad would be in order now, if anybody has any.
Very attractive.
Sure.
I mean, I live and work downtown. Can we put one downtown, or can we budget for that?
It's just money.
Is there any more on
Yes.
the agenda? Any more splash pads you're thinking about putting in?
Potentially something, one at Riverside, but that's long-range plan type of thing.
Ms. Lewis?
Yeah, that open house for the splash pad was very nice. And the comments that I've had from people who've been there, they really enjoy it and they really like it. One question they had was, is there going to be a bathroom and constructed kind of closer to the splash pad?
Yes, ma'am. We when we developed that area, we looked at 3 phases, and I'll go through in the budget presentation and show you where we're going to go with phase 2 and then potentially phase 3, and so there are plans for that, and I'll go over that in the budget presentation, kind of where that is and what's coming on next. So we're not done over there yet.
Good. It was a great job.
Thank you. Danielle did a lot of that and was the lead in our department for that project.
Any other comments? If not, let's move on to, well, let me ask you first, Colby, is there any other new business that from
that I
the,
have. Not that I have.
from the staff or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes of the January 8th meeting. That was a long time ago. If, they're attached to your packet. If anybody has had a chance to review them, we'd entertain a motion to accept them or make any changes that are necessary.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes.
I second it.
Moved and seconded that we accept the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes will be accepted as written. The next item on the agenda is the 2018-2019 budget overview. Colby, again, back to you.
I moved on. You got so I can see there. Commissioners, thank you for the time. I want to real quick go through the budget presentation that was presented to council in the latter part of June. And so at any time that you have any questions about the budget, please feel free to stop me. We can address them there, or we can wait till the end, just whichever one. It won't bother me at all if you ask during the time. If I can get to work, there we go. Just a real quick, most of y'all have seen this organizational chart. We had a few changes when we took over Riverside Golf Course. We added a green superintendent in Golf Pro, and so that kind of changed up the higher part of my organizational chart. And just wanted to show that to start off with. Diving into the parks budget, if you look at the 3 main categories that we have: personnel, maintenance, operation, and capital, those are the ones that will focus on what we are actually doing. You can see there the differences between the 17 and 18 budget, also the percentages of the budget. And so if you look at personnel, that is 49% of our overall budget. Maintenance, operations 32, et cetera. You can also look at the differences from year to year. In 2017 versus 18, we're plus 75,000 in personnel, and you can see the differences going through. After the highlighted part of the total budget, you can look at one-time expenses versus reoccurring a budget. And so the one-time expenses that you will see, that number in my particular budget will increase and decrease each year just depending on the overall budget of the city. Some years that may be high, some years that may be low. As you can see, it's rather high this year, and that's where you'll see a lot of our projects. 2 years ago, when we were going through the downturn, you could see those numbers are low. And so our finance department likes to be able to see what is the reoccurring cost versus the one-time expenditure. So if you're trying to compare apples to apples of my budget from one year to another, that's when you'd go and look at the reoccurring budget, not the one-time expenditures. Does that, everybody see where I'm coming from there? Okay. And this next slide we'll dive in a little bit deeper into those differences. If you look at the recurring costs, like I said, that's almost $175,000 difference. Our personnel side of that, we are working, we've made a few minor changes. We've decreased our total staffing by 2 full-time employees. What we've done there, we've decreased that number, but we have not decreased the funding for that. We've moved it to another other side, and that the operational effects of that are, we are going now to contract out seven of our parks to outside contractors to mow. And so what we're doing to be able to accommodate that is reducing our staff. And where it does look like it's a reduction in my department, it is, but we're increasing our speed of mowing. And so that's where we came up. We were looking to see how can we get more efficient, how can we get better at what we do, and those are that's the result of it. It will go from a 14-day mowing cycle down to a 10-day mowing cycle. And so that's where that operational part in. The operations, of course, where you see there that we added the park mowing. We have some minor things as far as lights and power items. Those numbers jump up and down depending on how many leagues we have or the weather, different things to that nature. And so operationals wise, there's not a lot of it's small adjustments to each one of our line items. And yes, ma'am.
With the contracting out the mowing, you said that's going to make for faster mowing turnaround?
It is.
Which parks are going to be getting mowed faster?
Well, all of our parks will be mowed faster. The ones that we are going to contract out will be Boulevard, Brunson, Greenbelt, Meadow Lane, Memorial, Queen City, and Will Rogers. Those 7 will be contracted out to the group, and then that increases our speed and the amount of time that we get back mowing. We did a trial run on this summer. We had lost a crew leader that resigned after Harvey, and we had an open position that we deal with open positions quite often in the department, and so we went out there and did this. What we were worried about is that we were having a difficulty hiring at one point during the year, and I did not want to see the parks get neglected or not being mowed on the regular schedule. And so we trial ran this, and it worked very well for us. We didn't see, I'd say in this 2 weeks ago in July, we did have a spot where we got behind, but we didn't see our normal, the times that we would get behind in May or in April, those times, and they were able to push through without changing that mowing cycle up very much. And we still, we're not built for the peaks, we're built for the average, and so we'll still have some times that if it's raining 4 or 5 days in a row and we just can't get out there and it's hot, you're still going to get grass that's going to, but we're hoping to make that more consistent where when you go out to the park, it looks freshly mowed most all of the time. Does that answer your question, Ms. Repka?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Doesn't seem to want to move for me. There we go. Okay, some of the projects and capital items that we're seeing. You see the Ethelene Tracy Park improvement. Ms. Lewis, this is what you were referring to. In this next budget year, we have budgeted $300,000 for a new playground, and then in phase 3, we will bring in the bathroom at that point. And so that's kind of what our timeline. I don't know the exact date of when phase 3 will come online, but that's what we'll be shooting for. So when I start developing next year's budget, that will be one of the first projects that are put into that budget. Evergreen Cemetery. If you go down Red River and a portion of Vine, that will replace all that fencing there. We're looking at resurfacing 2 of the tennis courts at the community center park over by the youth sports complex. Replace the UV system at Lone Tree Splash Pad. Riverside Park, we will be doing a sidewalk from the Rose Garden, just where my old office was, up to Vine, and so that will complete the entire loop. If you notice, walkers right now, if they want to walk the entire loop, there's a section once you get off of Vine all the way down to the Rose Garden that is basically walkers are walking on the street or in the grass area, and so we're gonna connect that trail into one. Downtown, we're going to re-powder coat the different benches, trash cans, and planters that you see there, and those are the metal ones. Parks, and then just regular parks, we're replacing 2 large area mowers. Those are on a 5-year program, and this is the end of their 5th year, and so we'll be replacing those and bringing those back on to put them in line. We'll start working on those in the next month or 2 to get those bought. Sometime in January, December. Hopefully, we'll be ready to go with them by February. That's what our goal is. Also, an infield groomer for the youth sports complex, the little 3-wheeler that they drive around the drag to the different ball fields, the girls' softball fields and the men's softball fields, and then adding a mosquito frogger.
Backtrack a little bit on that.
Sure.
Going to the tennis courts, resurfacing the 2 courts, how often are those courts utilized? I mean, do we have any way of knowing? Do we track that, or?
We have a group that was active in using those courts. Now, there's 4 total courts there, 2 in each facility, basically, so 2 in each slab, and so we're replacing 1. But what we've seen right now is those courts have come to a point where they need to be resurfaced, or you're not going to get that play, and so that's what we're experiencing right now, and we believe that we'll be able to that will bring play back, and so that's the potential of what we're doing. I want to make sure that I let y'all know that a lot of these projects, or some of these projects, we may delay putting those projects on until the latter part of the year to see where our financial numbers are, where sales tax dollars are, or different things of that nature. So they won't get started all October 1, and we'll continue to look and see. And so if revenues aren't coming in where we want, we may delay one of these or not. But that's our plan as far as July area, somewhere in there, June or July, to start redoing those.
Are those tennis courts lit? at
Yes,
the
ma'am, they
community
sure
center?
are.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Toby, let me ask you, what is the route for the sidewalk? How will that go? Which side of the street will it be on, and how will it go from Rose Garden to Vine? Will it all be on the side opposite of the Parks building?
That is the plan. We will, once budget is approved, we will get with our engineering department, and they will go out and lay it out. I've got a rough estimate, a rough line that's going through there to get my budget numbers, but we'll have to exactly see where we're going to cross, because we'll have a lot of different crosses of crossing entrances and exits to our parking lots, and so we'll just have to figure out what's the best route on there. We'll more than likely we'll bring it on the side of the road of the Rose Garden and come up that way, but I don't want to put that in stone right now if that's not, the best use for it as far as from the engineer side.
That would be a good thing to get done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Other questions on this part?
Moving on to community center, and I won't go through every one of these. This is similar to what you saw with our parks budget. Really not increasing very much at all on this side. We're staying very flat. The total increase is $6,000 for the entire budget, and that's miscellaneous with operations and things to that nature. You can see there the differences. Same thing that we have with the different payroll adjustments that we're going to have, the 2019 pay program, and then we are adding another landscape and mowing contract to this facility as well, and so that we'll have a full-time landscaping group that will go out there on a weekly or bi-weekly basis to maintain that facility as well. Come on. Okay, golf course. Very similar in the budget. This one, as far as getting from apples to apples, is a little difficult. We're in this first year we're shooting at a number, and we're hoping that we get there. We're basing this off of what we believe that we can do as far as what our business plan says. We do feel confident in these numbers. If you can see, there is a increase in percentages of budget. I do want to warn you or caution you that the 2017 2017 numbers that you see are based on a 9-month program, a 9-month, because we didn't start opening that, or that we took over until September or October of last year going. And we had some time period there from October to January that we were closed. And so that didn't occur, that didn't take into account all of the staffing that was on board. It did with the maintenance side of it, but Rolando's personnel and the pro shop were not included in all those numbers. And so that's where this next year will be the first year that we have a true running 12 months worth of data that we're able to gather. I can tell you that the golf course, we hired Rolando Hernandez, and then Brian Woolard is our new superintendent. And if you haven't got the chance, go out there and look at the golf course. It looks amazing. I know that I took a lot of y'all through the golf course after Harvey and drove through it. The golf course is in great shape. We're getting a lot of compliments, and you can see Brian's work on a daily basis starting to improve that facility. We're really excited where it's going. This will be the revenues of what we're expecting into the golf course. Just like I said, they're based on a 12-month and rather than a 9-month time. And so if you can see that the total revenues are very similar, or actually lower than that, but our expenditures are too. And so we're trying to get down, and I want to emphasize that the 2017-18 budget is a very difficult one to try to compare because it's not taking into account all of the, being closed different months. So moving forward, that 18 budget will be our setting stone where we're at and go from there. So these are projected numbers. They're better off than what our 2017-18 projected numbers because we had no data to choose from. If you look at what we see in our food sales at our business plan for last year called $45,000 in revenue. We're not seeing that because we do not have a food service there yet, and so you can see we've adjusted our numbers back down to match that. And so you'll get, as you are here, you'll start to see that more and more on each budget. They'll start being closer to each other. And this just gets into some real detail of where all those different numbers are coming. And I'll be glad to explain any of those to you if you'd like me to.
Can you go back just for a second, Kobe?
Sure.
Sorry.
And if you'd like, I will be glad to email this out to the entire commission so that way you have it if you need to reference it at any point.
Do we operate or is there a pro shop? Is that included in here, or is that separate? Does the pro have that part of the? How do you do that?
Well, we have two different. They are all within they are. Excuse me. The golf course is in an enterprise fund, and so it's what we're hoping that it breaks even or potentially makes a little money. That's what our goals are. Now, the pro shop and the outside maintenance have separate budgets, but as I'm presenting them, they come into one. It's really just separated in there, so we can determine what are we spending on maintenance, and then what are we spending inside, and because we can't shortfall that maintenance at all, and so we felt like going into it that we wanted to separate those two budgets so we could get a real good idea, from year to year of what is actually being spent in each one of those different areas. Mr. Keeling, you ready for me to move on, or you want to?
No, that's good. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thanks.
And that's what we've got. That's what was presented to council, and I'll be glad to answer any questions on the budget.
Questions, anybody?
Great.
Anything? Very good.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you, Kobe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, before we take up adjournment, I wanted to just mention, there were some comments, I think, from members coming in about some things that they wanted to talk about and so forth and so on. We don't have that on the agenda to go into detail on any of those things, but in terms of bringing up those subjects, if you'd like to just mention this point, we could
Yes.
put them down for future consideration on future agendas. if
I'm
you wanna-
surprised that comments from the commissioners was axed from the agenda. I thought it was a,
I'm
item that
assuming
was
the
there
legal
all the time.
department probably did that. I'm not sure.
there are several items that I had that I wanted to talk about. And it was regarding the clearing of Grover's Bend and Fox's Bend. I know before Harvey that those were scheduled, Grover's was scheduled to be cleared. And I know Harvey set you back on that. And I was just wondering if you might have a schedule for those clearings?
If you don't mind, let's just put these things in sort of
Okay.
list order or just, kind of a quick description. And
All
then
right. So that
let's
could
let
be
staff
one.
get back to you rather than get into discussion here. That's not, since it's not on the agenda, I don't feel
Sure.
like we better.
Okay, and these are items that have been brought to me by the community. Another item was regarding Pebble Beach. You know, it's such a wonderful place. The parks announced a re-grand opening of that sometimes this year in March. And at that time, the grass was down low. Harvey just wiped it out, the river rising. And it looked real great. We even ran some dozers through there to clear out all the grass. But now, today, some areas the grass growth is way over my head. So we had some concerns there about mowing. And two, the mowing seems to stop before the parking lot instead of going all the way back to the brush and to the trails areas. So that was something. Also, some folks mentioned to me that they wish that they had the picnic tables and the trash cans back down on Pebble Beach. They haven't been replaced since the refurbishing after Harvey. One other thing that's been going down at Pebble Beach is lots of kids are jumping off cliffs off the other side of the river. And some folks were observing, like wondering, what will we do for safety concerns or an emergency exit if ever we had to have EMS come down there? We might need to establish some kind of emergency access down to Pebble Beach. I know trekking through that thick sand might be hard for first responders. There's other ways to access Pebble Beach further down, aside from the normal trail. Trying to keep my list short here. Another item that was brought to me is lots of kayakers like to kayak the river, and we would like to exit at the South Street boat dock, but it's kind of washed out, and it has been for a very long time. So we were wondering if maybe the parks could maybe doze that dock to make it accessible for boats and kayaks. And another big item, folks are always asking me, is when will the completion of Fox's Bend Disc Golf Course be completed? I know it was initially slated to be completed in the fall of this year, but Harvey set the parks back. So we were just wondering, has that been scheduled for completion? And if that's not enough, two more and then I'll be done. The dog park. Everyone is asking about the dog park. Is it going to happen? Is that space still available? Is that something that our other nonprofit and the parks commissioners need to concern themselves with or try to get that funded and proceed with that? And then some other disc golfers always come to me on the parking barriers. They were wondering when that project would be completed, especially in front of the zoo, across from the zoo. There's some areas that people have broke down the barriers and they're parking right next to barbecue tables, which also happens to be right by some disc golf baskets. So there was just some concerns of safety and reestablishing that area as a no parking zone right across from the zoo. I believe it's hole 10 for the tea basket.
I'll make mine short. She mentioned one that also had been approached by the building of the dog park as well. Another thing that was mentioned to me several times is, are we ever going to build a bike trail coming from the Red River down to the park? The next thing was mentioned also, several events that I went to at the community center. Is there any possibility that they can work on dimming the lights as far as, because when you take the dome lights, it's just completely off, and all the lights you have on the outskirts, and the dance floor is almost totally dark. That's what I'm gonna say, so, we can consider those things to be able to work on or consider.
Any other items that anybody has? Anything? All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I second that.
That was easy. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Colby.